Hey there, everyone. Welcome. Take these off. Welcome to our chat today. Um, this is Lotus, and what I want to talk about today is this shifting that is happening into the new Earth and into the 5D consciousness amidst a lot of the 3D reality world um, struggles. All right. So 2025 we're only what's the date? It's like the 18th. We're just barely halfway through January, and it has walloped um, as we cross the threshold into this year. And I guess it's not surprising. Many people, astrologists, have been forecasting this. The quickening of the air and fire elements have been poised for this. And we're seeing it politically, particularly here. I know there's things going on in other parts of the world, but here in the United States, um, politically things are on pretty shaky ground. We've got following the December, the floods in Asheville and on the East Coast. We've had the raging fires on the West Coast in Los Angeles. We have a lot of unpredictability about, what is going to happen within the political system, within a lot of our systems of the 3D that we have all come to know of as normal, and we don't really know the other ways yet in which we're going to be invited to function. And we also have a lot happening on the disclosure forefront about history of the UFOs, star families. The galactic information is starting to land in, which we all kind of knew that this was going to be coming. So there's a lot that has been taken place in just a very short period of time. And simultaneously, if you are of the collective, which I'm assuming that you're growing in this direction if you aren't already fully established. If you are of the collective that is really making the strides, and I'm going to use the word devotion, who is really coming into that devotion of higher frequency consciousness. Where does that take place? Inside. It is becoming more and more imperative, which is why my guides are, they're like, this is what we need to keep talking about. This is what we need to keep sharing. This is what we need to keep really helping people to understand, is that everything that is on the outer world is very unstable right now because it has to be. I've done a couple videos where I've talked about things are not as they appear. Everything that's happening is happening in its own perfection. And like every individual who does their shadow work, who goes inside and starts to dismantle all of the old structures, all of the old belief systems, right? Where we kind of break apart from the world that we knew. It's challenging, it's scary, it's unknown, it's oftentimes painful, and we don't always have the coping skills, and we don't always know what it is that is happening when we're going through our awakening. So this is like 100,000-fold. These are not just internal structures falling away anymore. They are the outer structures, the energetic structures that the physical world has been built upon. Because everything is built first in the energetic, and everything also dismantles through the energetic. So it's challenging, and it's heartbreaking in a lot of ways, and it's scary for a lot of the unknowns. And yet, every layer of the dismantling forces humanity to have to look deeper at ourselves. We have to find something else to hold on to, something else that isn't outside of us anymore, but is inside of us, and is based on higher levels of truth and universal laws that we have not been structured within in many ways. Sorry, I'm very cold. So we know what the 3D looks like. We know what living in the 3D looks like. What's less unclear is, what is the 5D look like? And the 5D externally in the outer world is still landing its energetics into a physical expression. Now, a big part of this is because we are the physical expression. Our blueprints are the physical expression. So, a really important question that I think is to keep asking ourselves is, when we look out into the world and we're watching things change very quickly, and we don't know where they're going, we want to begin asking, what is this relevance to me? Okay, we want to personalize it first and foremost, because we're all very different. We're all going to have very different blueprints and very different missions. Okay, very different reasons why we are here on this planet. And we all are going to have reasons why we're here to support the greater whole. But we have to know individually, what am I here for? What does this outside of me have to do with what I'm here for, what I'm leaving behind, what I'm aligned with, and what is my deeper inner truth knowing on a soul level? And am I embodied enough to know what my truth is? So what I'm talking about again is living from the inside out versus the outside in. So, for me, I lived in Los Angeles, and I deeply loved that city. Many amazing memories. And it was not my home for a very long time, but long enough, right, to really form a beautiful bond with it, in spite of all of the shadow goings on, right, that I was very aware of that were taking place in that city, right? I knew there was a lot of darkness there, and I knew there was a lot of light there. Now, for me, the effect that this has is very different than the effect that it has on people there. And while I'm touching base, while I can do what I can do at a distance, the 3D way of operating is to stay plugged into the destruction, the pain and suffering, and the stories and the drama of it. Now, if that were part of my mission, I would probably be there still, because that would be a part of my blueprint that I wouldn't be needing to have activated, so to speak, in order for maybe new levels of consciousness to come on, new ways of service to take place, ways of helping and serving the whole. I am not there. And so while I have my ways of serving energetically and connecting with people that I love there, I am not plugged in to that. Because I also understand that on a grander scale, there is a lot happening that does not meet the eye. And this is how we start living and operating multidimensionally. We recognize that there are many layers of reality that all hold truth simultaneously. And every person is going to hold that, their own reality very differently as well. So our role as we move into the higher frequencies that begin within us is to cultivate our own inner realm. Learn to become masters of our mental plane, our emotional plane, our energetics that are a part of that, and our physical reactive planes. And we do this by anchoring in our bodies, anchoring in our truth, and untethering any of those ways that hold us captive into the old paradigm. This does not mean we don't have compassion. This does not mean that we don't step in a way that is right and true for us. And it also means that, for instance, if we aren't in the direct vicinities of being directly affected, our job, our purpose is actually something else. And that is to hold the light and cultivate more of the light where there is less trauma and suffering. Because then that light emanates out. And how does that happen? It happens through the levels of consciousness and anchoring the consciousness of faith, of trust, of deep peace, of deep knowing, of deep prayer, of deep, multi-dimensional awareness. And then cultivating the coherence in ourselves so that we are affecting the changes where we can, so that we are holding and anchoring in the frequencies of the new reality. So there's that example. And I want to talk a little bit about the galactic, information's coming through. I don't know a lot. I see bits and pieces. But I don't spend a lot of time delving into that which is outside of me. And one of the things that I think is really important to recognize is that many of us, and you may be one of them, many of us have already been in contact with our star families for years, some for generations, right? That one, I don't have that long of a tether consciously. But I have a fairly, good established relationship. And one of the things that was talked about years and years ago when internal contact was being made was that when we have internal contact, it's much easier to discern what is true and what is not true in the outer world. Because we already have relationship that has been established. We already understand frequency, the language of energetic signatures. We already have had assistance from our star families in upgrading and up-leveling our physicality, right? The technology that is organic, that is evolving us. We've already been supported and are continually supported. So if my mission is not directly involved in external disclosure, then what exactly what is it that I'm seeking? What is the service? What is it serving me? Is it making me anxious? Is it scaring me? Is it confusing me? Right? Is it creating a sense of panic in me? Is it creating sort of a sensationalism of exciting, and which it is exciting in many ways, right? But there's a way in which we start living vicariously through things that we don't really know yet whether they're true or not. And if they're triggering unease or an elevation in our nervous system, then it may not truly be serving my highest good. Ultimately, the ways in which we're going to know and come into these relationships is going to be within our own hearts, at least in the near future. And the ways in which we're going to be able to discern is to know and understand our own intuition. And we cannot hear the true intuitive knowing or meet the true high frequency beings if our systems are not coherent. If they're anxious, if they're contracted, they cannot get through to us. And if they do, there's distortion. So this 5D reality that happens from within us, not from the information outside of us, not from the dramas that are happening as the old collapses. And I'm not saying that we don't have benefits from knowing, like, oh, okay, this is what's happening over there. Oh, okay, this is what's happening over here. Oh, okay, I'm really feeling stirred. What can I do here? Okay, so I'm not saying that we're disconnected. What I'm saying is that for those of us who know, who have a good sense that we are devoted to creating what is new, not maintaining the old ways, but that are creating the new levels of consciousness, of deepening our connection with the earth, of deepening our devotion to our own soul preciousness, right? To connecting and communing and coming into more of a unified interconnectedness with all of life that fosters life, that doesn't subjugate us to systems that historically feed on our energy and demand us to be in survival mode. That is what is going away. So when we're devoted to the new, we're cultivating internal frequencies that are grown inside of us, that are cultivated, that are strengthened from within us. So I have a whole series of what I call embodied moments. These are frequency activations. They are both preliminary meditations and then light language activations, which support us in cultivating this higher frequency, retraining ourselves, our nervous system, our brain to operate from higher expressions of consciousness. And, I do them like a week apart, or the series. You can see them on one of the playlists on my YouTube channel, right? But when you receive the light language activations, these give you an opportunity to transform your being into more light in your cells. They activate your DNA. They rewire the brain with states of being. This is the technology that is creating the external reality. So many people have been living mostly in a fifth dimensional consciousness for quite some time. And how we've managed to do that is we have unplugged and untethered from many of the 3D ways of operating. This doesn't mean that we aren't still, Jesus talks about being in the world but not of the world. So it means simplifying in ways where maybe our creature comforts or our habits or the entertainment or the ways in which we've been programmed to spend our time and energy outside of ourselves, right? We've learned to unplug from that and spend more times in the organic, natural, expanded experiences of life. And this means that we tap into higher dimensional awareness, spaciousness, expansion, more peace, more ease and grace. We're communing with nature, with other beings, right? With our star families. We aren't doing that outside. It's happening inside. And then we are transformed by this, and that means we get to maintain and sustain these higher dimensional realities and begin to serve humanity from there. It's living magically. But the portal is going inside, and this is where we resist. Unless you've gone inside and you've activated and you're living from the higher centers, and you're still doing your clearing work, but you've done the deep trauma work, right? Or you know how to rise down and rise up with more ease and grace. So I don't really remember this video very well, but I think like 4 or 5 years ago, I did a video that was like from 3D into 5D or something like that. I have a lot more of my older videos in my library where I'm actually talking more about this plane of consciousness, right? This way of living. And now more of our collective frequency is also moving in this direction, which means that as everything falls, if we're anchored in this higher level of understanding, we are the ones that will be activating and in action to establish the new systems. But they come from new levels of consciousness, from new innovations, right, for the Aquarian age, from new ways, so I've talked a little bit about Veda Austin and her work with water, right? So these are new groundbreaking levels of understanding where we're going. And how is she doing this? She's doing this on, through the studying of other people who have studied water, but then she's creating her own relationship with water. Right? So she's learning from what she's cultivating from inside her and following the muse of water. Right? So there's a lot of amazing information out there, but what we want to be doing is discerning. What about this resonates with me? How is this serving my next level of consciousness? How am I going to embody this information for myself so that I'm not just gathering information, I'm activating new consciousness and higher frequency within me? And not everything that we're interested in is necessarily going to land as part of our blueprint. But it might open up the door to the next thing, right? Or we might go, whoa, how can I work more deeply with water in my own cells, right? How can I start activating more consciousness of higher frequency in my own cells or in my waterways? So I'm giving a little bit of a foreshadowing of the 5-week journey that we're going to be doing with the elements. And we're going to be doing exactly what I just said when we work with the water element, because we're going to be creating deeper relationships with the elemental world. And I'm going to be doing another video of why are we doing this? What is the inner relationship going to do for our evolution and our greater connection in the world? Right? So we live from the inside out. I can tell you many different experiences of what living in, a 5D reality is, even though I'm still going up and down. But you can't access them unless you come inside and access your own portal. Access your own awakening of those frequencies, and then cultivate them and let them live their revelations through you, so that then your life in the outer changes. So it's very exciting times. And the more that we are living only from the outside in, it's going to feel more challenging. So the invitation, right, continues to be, are you ready to begin living a magical life, or to increase the magic that you're already experiencing? Because this is the new earth. This is the new reality. This is the age of Aquarius. We're accessing our unique skills and gifts and superpowers and turning on our blueprint by engaging with our inner world and bringing our soul presence home and embodying our light. So I hope that you consider joining us for the Elemental Alchemy journey. And it's going to be 5 Saturdays. And this begins February 1st through March 1st. And I love that it's kind of bridging our way towards from winter to spring because it's very appropriate. And it's going to be very experiential and informational as well. And there are going to be practices and exercises every week for you to cultivate this deeper intimacy with you, because the elements are us and the elementals in our world. So I'm definitely, I'm really looking forward to this. And there might be, I'm sure there's going to be probably some additional emails that you'll get throughout the 5 weeks just to kind of deepen your process and maybe inquiries, things like that. So this is going to be one of the first classes that I'm doing as we move into 2025. I invite you to go into the descriptions, and I'm going to post there kind of the overview and outline for most of what we're going to be working with over this next year. All of this is going to be to support us to go inside, to understand the tools and the skills that we need, right? And the activations on a level of embodiment to really hold these energies as we move forward through this year and through the next couple years. So I hope that you check that out as well. And sessions are open for private sessions. You can pick and choose. You know, I would want to do a consultation just to find out really where each person is at who is interested in this, and where you see your path unfolding and where you're feeling called to go, or what you're needing like assistance with, or deepening and understanding and experiential understanding, of course, because we have a lot of amazing things ahead of us this year, and I'm super thrilled. And there are definitely tugs at heartstrings that are happening simultaneously. And we get to hold all of it. And that is the way of the feminine. And yet we get to choose the greater part of the reality that we want to be experiencing. So with that, I am going to say goodbye. Many blessings, much love, and I will see you soon.